Everybody, welcome. It's Karen Lanoux from the No Limits Businesswoman and also from the Law of Attraction Center. So it's great to have you here. Today we are here for hashtag Create 2020 Plan Jam, and I'm just wondering how things went for you yesterday. So yesterday what we did is we went over the beginning of starting to create and attract an amazing 2020. And so we had a number of people on the call with us on the live video yesterday, so we're just going to see if who shows up. If you are watching this later, please make sure that you drop in, just say hello, drop in an emoji, click a heart or a like sign or whatever it is there, and just let me know that you were here. Here's the thing, it's so funny. I have so many people who I know watch me and who are watching the videos, and I actually never hear from them. They're just kind of, hanging out in the background, and I don't want you to be in the background anymore. Come and join me. Come and let me know that you were here. And I'm just making sure on the other pages, because I'm here in the Karen Lanoux International No Limits Businesswoman page, but I'm also, again, in two other places, the No Limits Businesswoman group and the Law of Attraction Center group. So if you want to get into those groups, because what I think I'm going to do after is come in and do a watch party. So it would be great if you come and join me there too. So I don't see me. I'm going to just keep checking back over here to my groups, because I should be showing up and I don't see me yet. I just want to make sure I am in all the right places, all the right times. So yesterday, what I started going over, and sorry, I'm keeping an eye over here at the same time. Yesterday, what I started doing, and I don't see it, but I'm talking to myself and doing all this at the same time. Okay, don't know why it's not showing up. Let's just stop this. I am coming back to you. And I noticed somebody is hanging out with me. Jeff, thank you so much for being here with me. Jeff is my sweetheart. He's downstairs right now, and he's watching me. Not like he doesn't get enough of me, right? But he is so wonderful, and glad to have you with me, sweetheart, as always. And I don't know why this... So for whatever reason, my apologies, Facebook is not sending this out to the other groups. Oh, there, I think they're showing up now. There we go. Okay. I think they're just showing up now. So again, sorry, it's taking some time here. 3 minutes, Facebook, come on. Get your act together, she says, hoping that they don't stop me. All right, so yesterday, we started talking about vibe design. So what's vibe design? Well, this last year, well, let's say 5 years ago, in 2014, I created the first Year of Wow Daily Attraction Journal. And what it actually really came for is when it was myself and one of my clients we were talking. I was coaching her. We were talking about the new year coming up, and she says, I'm just looking for a year of wow. And I just thought, I love that. I love that title. I love just that concept of a year of wow. And so that's where it was born, was really from that one session with this one gal that I worked with for quite some time. who has gone on to do amazing things. We did amazing things together, and she's continued to carry on with that. But what we're doing now, and we're now in the 4th edition of the Year of Wow, and this is last year's. This is the 3rd edition, but the 4th edition has coming out in all kinds of different colors. There's 8 colors, so 7 besides this one, and but what I'm doing and why it's the 4th edition is because I am always adding into it. I'm always adding new stuff, adding in new processes that I'm using with my clients, with my private clients. And so the latest one, and in the newest Year of Wow journal, is what I've done is I've created something called the Vibe Design. And I would show it to you in here, except I don't have the newest one yet. It's on its way. Just got that done over the weekend and have ordered them, so they're coming out now. But Vibe Design. So Vibe Design is really a process about starting to create your goals and getting in alignment with them. Because if we're not in alignment with our goals, they don't happen, or they take a lot longer to happen. And so, so yesterday I talked about really deciding on a number of goals. So you can pick one only, you can pick 5, you can pick 10. It doesn't really matter to me. But here's the thing: when you're picking a lot of goals, what will end up happening is that you'll probably only be working on it two or 3 at a time. But what you can also do is set up your vibe design around this. So you're starting to kind of identify, what is it that I want? This next step is really to identify a symbol that you can connect to this particular goal. And the reason we do this is to, because that's the way our brains work. That's where our subconscious works. And really, when we're connecting in and communicating with the infinite intelligence, the universe, God, whatever that is for you, it really is about, we communicate in symbols and in our energy, in our vibes. So when we're trying to connect in with our goals, having a really simple a symbol is really crucial. And so one of the gals who was watching me yesterday, she sent me what her symbol was. And thank you so much for doing that, because that actually helps me to explain this even better to you. What you want to do is create a symbol that is really clear and very easy for you to visualize. So something that you can see in your mind's eye. So as you're going to sleep, or as you're waking up, or as you're in the shower, or as you're going for a walk, or just walking down the hallway, you're doing the dishes, vacuuming, I don't care what it is, just those kind of, those times when you're just doing something where you might normally kind of daydream. I call it the tween zone, right? Or you might be thinking about, you're thinking about a situation where you're thinking about what you could have done better, or what you could have done differently, or you're thinking about a conversation. What you want to do then, instead of those, is plug in. So you're actually programming your mind to be actively processing and thinking about and putting out a vibe towards your goal. Because when you, again, are vibing about your goal, when you've got that, putting that energy out into the world, or out into the universe, out into the ether, the more you are actually drawing it to you. You're setting up that, as soon as you set a goal, you're starting to set that up. So it's actually, you're pulling it in towards you. So setting out a really simple symbol for you. Yesterday, I was talking about one of the gals, that she came in, and she's wanting to create 3 retreats. So it could be something just as that. So 3R with some squiggly lines around it. It doesn't have to be fancy. It could be squiggly lines. It could be a triangle. It could be a circle. It could be, it could be anything, right? It's just something so that's going to be simple for you to visualize in your mind's eye, in those tween zones. So that was the second thing to do when you're actually starting to create your vibe design. The third step is creating the parameters, or the criteria, so for your goal. So what is it that you want to be creating? And let me know as you have questions. I know we've got a couple of people on the live here with me right now. Please just drop in an emoji, or drop in a question. Just say hello. Let me know that you're here. And again, I would much rather be having a conversation with you rather than just doing this where I can't hear you. But if the way I can hear you is by you actually typing in and saying hello, or asking questions. So again, the third step is to create your parameters, the criteria about what your goal is. So yesterday I used the example of one of my clients who has reached her goal in her business to 500,000. Actually, just she surpassed it by $21,000. So she's reached $500,000, but next year she wants to go to $1 million. So she wants to go to $1 million. So what are the parameters that she may be looking at in her business to start, to say, this is the kind of goal I want, right? This is what I want it to include. And so, hey, Gurjeet, good to see you. Thanks for popping in here. And so, again, with this particular gal's goal, she could be saying, I want the ideal clients, and my ideal client is somebody who just loves everything I do and who just leaves me to it and doesn't want to micromanage. So that would be my ideal client. I'm also going to need really good staff, or keeping my staff, right? So that would be another aspect of her parameters or her criteria. Could be also that she really needs also to be attracting new staff. So new staff, because if she's doubling up to $1 million in sales, she's going to probably need new staff to handle those new clients, right? So that's another criteria. Another thing is that she might just want the sales process to be easy and short, okay? So that would be another criteria. So if that makes sense, just in terms of when you're setting up your goals, what are the criteria? What are the parameters of what that goal looks like for you? So you want to start to list those. So those are the 3 things that we talked about yesterday. The other thing I asked you to do is to just kind of take us, as you're writing down your goals, get a sense of, what does this feel like to me? When I'm thinking about my goal, does it feel exciting to me? Does it feel, does it feel exciting to me? Does it feel feels like there's a little apprehension, or does it feel like it's a long ways away? Another thing could be that you could be asking yourself, and sorry, I'm just checking in. I want to make sure that I'm getting everybody's questions here. You want to make sure that it is feeling, does it feel like it's far away, or does it feel like there's some heaviness when you're thinking about your goal? If there feels like there's some heaviness when you're thinking about your goal, then we're going to do something about that, and I'm going to talk about what you need to do about that. But I really want you to be really conscious about what it's like. How's connecting in with this goal feel to you? And then what you also want to do is you want to connect in with that. When you're thinking about the goal, start to think about it in terms of that symbol, right? Think about that symbol. Excuse me. Dr. Joe Dispenza is Dr. Joe Dispenza. He talks about if we can train our bodies to feel, because really it's all about the feeling, our vibes, the vibe design. When we can train our bodies how to feel, having what we want before we ever have it, then that's when we know. That's when we start to connect in, and start to draw it to us much faster. So that's the purpose of this. So Gurjeet says it feels scary. So that's really good to be aware of, because of course, if it's feeling scary, and as I mentioned yesterday, we will do more to avoid pain and scariness. Scariness would be pain potentially, right? And we will do more to avoid to avoid pain than to create pleasure. And the pleasure would be having that goal, right? But if we're feeling that it's scary, then there's really good things about it, because that actually can kind of, get the adrenaline going and get us moving towards what we want, and starting to take action, but it can also repel us. So, and if that's at the base of our goal, then we want to make sure that we take care of that. So, so I'll talk about that. I'll get back into that later. But, I have props today. So here's my Christmas hat. you can see this. You're right there up on the side there. And also my husband, Jeff, also reminded me that I need to do this. Yes, I'm the nice one. Okay. So just to be funny for a little bit. So those are the first 3 steps. So again, decide on your goal, find a symbol, create the parameters. So if you haven't done that already, do that again before we meet again tomorrow. The next thing to do, the next step is is to identify the feelings. And I'm gonna actually write this out here. Here's my high-tech whiteboard. And feelings. So this is a term that I coined, I don't know, maybe a decade ago, quite honestly. So feelings. So it's a feeling and a thought put together. So it's THEELINGS. That's a feeling. And what makes the difference between a normal thought and a feeling is a feeling, to me, and how I use it, is that it is it's a highly charged thought and feeling together. So if you think about the times when you've been most excited, that would be a feeling, right? Where you're really excited about something. But also when you're really worried or you're just mad or really frustrated, those are also feelings. So a feeling can be positive and it can be negative. It could be, again, repellent, or it could be attractive, right? So, and positive feelings are attractive. Negative feelings repel. They repel the things that we want. So, when you think about your goal, the next thing I want you to think about is when you have it, when it's done, when it's a done deal, like it's in and it's already happened. What are the feelings that you would have? Excuse me, because you want to start to identify what are those feelings. So would it be like you're really excited? Could be giant relief, right? It's like, oh, thank goodness. It could be, so excited, relief. It could be, extreme joy, happiness. It could be really being very grateful. Start to identify all the feelings. Again, they're highly charged feelings that you'd be having once the goal is in place, once you've reached that goal. So write down as many of those as you can think of. So some will be immediate, right? Where, let's say you have a monetary goal, and your monetary goal, if you reach that, and let's say it's a monthly goal or a yearly goal, but let's say just monthly to start. And let's say you start to see that it's starting, like you have your first month, and let's say your monthly goal is $10,000 for the month, and you reach that goal. It's like, your immediate feeling may be massive relief. It's just like, oh, thank goodness, right? Like, oh my goodness, right? It's like, how great is that? No, in month 2, it could also be like relief. And month 3 and 4 and beyond, it just becomes normal. So that necessarily wouldn't continue to be the feeling that you have. But it could be one of those immediate ones. And I think you, again, want to identify, what does that feel like? Then also, how would it feel as you're going forward? Would it be exciting? It's like, if you're making, again, that's your big goal, is $10,000 a month, and you continuously keep reaching that goal over and over again. That could be really exciting. And again, you could be feeling that gratitude, massive gratitude on an ongoing basis for it, because then that takes us into the next step of what you need to identify next. But the reason I want you to identify the feelings is because, of course, that puts out an energy, right? That puts out a vibe. And again, this is all about vibe design. And when you get into that feeling state of what it's like to have what you want, you are actually amping up. It's showing up faster, like you're reducing the time frame, because really, as soon as we send that out into the cosmos, right, what we're doing is we're pulling that back in, and we're pulling it back in not only because we're actually rewiring and restructuring every cell in our body, we're actually restructuring and rewiring our brains as we're doing this. And when we do this, we start to take different actions as well. So it's not just like all woo-woo, touchy-feely type stuff. It really is having a physical effect in our bodies. And because of that, we start to think differently and act differently. And as a result, we meet up with our goal way faster, okay? So connecting in with those feelings is really, really important. The next thing that you need to do is what I call will. So WILL. And really, and I make it just so it's easy, because what is life like? So, now once you reach your goal, what is life like? So if you're making, so let's say my client who wants to go to $1 million, and let's say she's making her like, I don't know, $85,000 a month, right? And she's reaching that goal consistently. What is life like for her in her business? What is life like for her and with her staff? What is life like now? Can she be paying, if she's got business debt, can she be paying that down? Can she be now giving bigger bonuses to her staff? Can she be hiring more people? And so what's life like now? And maybe she can now take a step back because she can put people in place that can do more of the work, the legwork that she's doing now. So again, what is life like? If your goal is like that, like I mentioned before, the $10,000 a month, what is life like then? Could life now be like, oh, I can go on a trip, right? Or I can start planning trips, or I can do some renovations, or I can actually start putting a deposit down for a home. I can make extra payments on my mortgage. I could put money into my retirement savings. I could buy great things for my friends and family. I could buy a new car. I could fix my car. There's, what is life like for you now? Start to write down all those things about what changes when you reach your goal. So what is life like? That's the next step. That is step 5. And you really want to get into the feeling of this again, because this really, attracting what we want is all about feeling, and that's why I really want you to do these steps. So as you are now, we'll take that image that you created, and because that's the image of your goal, and now the feelings that you imagine, you can start to bring forth that image of that goal, and then you can start to feel the feelings. You want to marry those two together. When you do that again, that just solidifies is that really what you want has to show up. It just has to. You want to stay away from what I call the trinity of trouble: fear, doubt, and worry. But the more, again, you can do this, the more you can step into this and connect that symbol and the feelings, then you're really taking this, you're amping this up, you're designing your vibe so it is actually always attracting. Okay, so you've done this. So you've done today what we've done so far is the 4th step, which is identify how you will feel when you reach your goal. And then the next one, what is life like? You've really started to get very clear about what is life like now for you. And then the last step in all of this, in your vibe design, is what is really just, I call it the best friend story. And so the best friend story is, and look, you've probably already done this in your life, right? You've probably already done this where, something really exciting or really good happens to you, or maybe something really bad that happens to you, right? And you you're going to have this conversation with one of your friends. And so you start kind of having this conversation. I know it's not just me that does this, okay? At least I hope it's not. But I know it's not just me that does this. But what you want to do then is actually start to imagine what's something you're going to tell your best friend, or the person that's most appropriate that you would tell this story to, right? For some people, a lot of people that I work with, I would be the person that they would tell their story to, that they would get really excited and say, Karen, you can't believe what just happened to me, right? So you could have imagined even telling me, right? But if there's nobody else that would be appropriate to talk about this stuff with. But again, your best friend story kind of goes something like this. And it's something that you're, again, just imagining in your head, where you can do this, again, in those kind of tween moments, or those tween zones, again, while you're commuting someplace, while you're having a shower. This is something that I do in the shower all the time. And just imagine having these conversations, or I'm getting ready in the morning, where you imagine having this conversation with your friend and saying, you cannot believe it. This is me having the conversation. So I was like, you would not believe it. It's like all of a sudden I was doing this process, and wow, as all of a sudden this thing that I've been wanting suddenly showed up. And so I'll give an example because I did this last year. I did this last December, actually it's November. And what happened is I started having this conversation in my mind. Okay, again, this is something in my mind where whenever I got into the shower, I'd start thinking how I was going to tell two of my best friends about how great the year ended up, and just all of a sudden, all these clients showed up and joined the group, and it was a really dynamic group, and it was just so much fun, and I didn't have to sell. And I wasn't advertising, and all of a sudden these people just showed up. And really, honestly, that's exactly what happened. And last December was the best December I've ever had. And I attribute it to this process. Really, it's the vibe design, right? Again, where you can connect in with your goal in a variety of different ways. One, through the symbol, one where you're thinking about what life is like. And the second thing, just having that best friend story where you're just imagining having this conversation with your friend and telling them all about how great, how your goals showed up. So that's the examples that I want to leave you with today. And I've gone a little bit longer than I expected. But if you have any questions, please plug them in. It's over here. Or down below, depending on where you're watching this. But plug in your questions. Even if you're watching, I've got a number of people on here with me now, but even if you're watching this later, please come in and plug in your questions. I will come back. And find it, and I will answer your question. But I just wanted to let you know this, because this is, again, one of the things that the latest addition to the Year of Wow. So if you're not coaching with me, this is the next best thing to a certain degree, right? It's like having me with you, right? Where you're using this consistently. What I've had with a number of my clients who have used a Year of Wow, the ones when they're using it consistently, things just start to happen. And so what I'll do is I will plug in the link below. Again, on how to. So if you want to get your own Year of Wow, look, you can do this on your own. You can write it down in your own journal. But I go into the whole that process. But I also teach the QC3 method, which is I think the most powerful way to get unstuck in any time and in any moment. And this is. That's in the Year of Wow. And so it's not only get unstuck, but to actually feel good and start to boost your confidence. So doing this, staying focused on your goal makes a huge difference to it showing up. And look, the world is full of distractions right now, right? There's social media. There's, TV, there's news. There's a lot going on in the world right now. Of course, there's Christmas, there's our kids, there's our families, there's our spouses, our dogs, right? Which are quiet right now. But there's all kinds of things that are going on in our lives. So having a way to stay focused. If you're not working with a coach, then get this journal, because it will make a huge difference. So I see questions come in from Juanita, and she says, "What is life like when I have achieved my goal? You suggest that I sit with that feeling." And yes, that's absolutely true. Look, you hear me when I'm asking questions and saying, really, what is it like? And I want you to get amped up. Like, you see me, okay? I get excited about stuff, right? And when I'm talking to my clients, I'm talking to people. It's like, well, really, if this was done, what would it feel like? Seriously, like, what would that be like? I want you to get into that feeling state, because it's the feeling state that draws in. It changes your physiology, which then changes the way we think and changes the way we act, okay, and how we take action. So yes, absolutely, you want to connect in with those feelings, those really positive, high-intensity feelings. You want to do that as often as possible. And there's something I came to, that I finally kind of came to the other day, is that the people that have the most challenges with attraction is that they have a much easier time of feeling negative feelings than they do positive feelings. That makes sense. So you want to start practicing. If that's you, where it's just like you can go to the dark side in a heartbeat, you want to start practicing the opposite. Because, or if you're really not an emotional person, if you're just not a highly emotional person, you're even keel. And look, I'm pretty even keel anyways, but I don't go down so much, but I let myself go to those high energetic feelings, right? And even if that's not you naturally, you can actually borrow that from somebody else. You can borrow it from me, right? You can imagine like, oh, if I was just to put myself in Karen's skin for a little bit, what would that feel like? And you can imagine just jumping around. Or somebody else that you know that's really highly energetic and highly gets excited about stuff. You can just practice, walking around like them for a little bit. And I mean, that's what I used to do when I started to think. It was like years, like decades ago now. When I started thinking about speaking, and I imagined being like Tony Robbins. And so I imagined I would start walking around the room and going, yeah, and how exciting is that? And it's like jumping up and down as if I was Tony Robbins, except like a foot and a half shorter. But borrow that. So yes, you need to feel that. You need to get into those positive feelings and let yourself do that, because what will happen will astound you. So Juanita says, wow, permission to go there. Yes, absolutely. And yeah, give yourself permission to do that. Absolutely. Go give yourself permission to feel what it feels like when it's done. When you do that, things shift and change. Okay. Now, sometimes the questions I get from people are, well, look, Karen, there's been lots of times when I've attracted great things, or I've had great things show up in my life, and I just thought of it, and it just had this vague feeling about it, and it showed up. So why I didn't get all hyped up and excited about it. And that's true. That happens all the time for us. But what that means is that you had no resistance to it. Okay. There is nothing, you just thought, you just had a lot of belief, or not even belief, you just didn't even give it a second thought. There is nothing, there's no resistance, really, as simple as that is. There was nothing, there was no fear, doubt, or worry. You just didn't, it was just like, it's like whatever shows up, great. There was no attachment. And when we have no attachment to something and we're not in fear, doubt, or worry, then yeah, that's how things can come easily to us. But what I find is, for a lot of people with their big goals, what ends up happening is that they get worried about it. It's like, well, what if it doesn't happen? Or I've tried this, Karen, I've worked on this so many times. I've tried to do it so many times and it never happened. And so we kind of go to the dark side, right? To the negative feelings. Well, that's resistance. And that, and it's again, we're moving away. We're shifting away from what it is that we truly want. As soon as we kind of go into fear, doubt, or worry, our goal's over here, and we're shifting over and moving towards, and focusing on what we don't want. What we want to do is shift and change that. So I'm going to leave that with you. Tomorrow, so I want you to go through this whole process, okay? Tomorrow I'm going to come back at the same time at 3 p.m. Pacific, and I want you to, I'm going to talk about the last part of the process, which is clearing out the energy, that resistant energy, the negative feelings, and we're going to talk about I'm going to talk about that process and answer any questions that you have about this process and what has been coming up for you as you're doing it. So if you can't make it, if you know, Karen, I'm not going to be able to come, then make sure that you plug in your questions in here, wherever you're watching this. And I'll kind of assemble those questions. But if you can't make it, but I hope you can, because that's a way for me to be able to help you faster. So, because again, I want you to have an amazing 2020. I want all your goals and your dreams to come true. And part of this process is doing what we just did, which is the vibe design, right? It's creating your own vibe design so you're getting in alignment with what you want. So again, just so you know, the new year of WOW, the 4th edition is out. I will put the link in down below. It's, you know, I've got it on 20% off right now. So I think it's like $20. I think there's even maybe still a possibility that you might be able to get it before Christmas. So I will put the links in below. Check it out. Again, I know I've seen the magic of this over and over again. Look, what we're doing here is we are 1 foot in logic, right? And 1 foot in magic. And when we do that, amazing things happen. All right. Have a great evening, a great day tomorrow. And I will see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific, right here, same place, same bat place, same bat station. And again, if you have any questions, plug them in below and I will answer them on tomorrow's call, or maybe even chat them into you. All right. Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining me today. See you soon.